When you go no contact with a narcissist, it can feel like the boldest move you've ever made. Suddenly, you're taking back your power, refusing to play their game of control. But the question that always lingers is, do they feel intimidated by it? The answer isn't simple, but it's fascinating. Narcissists crave attention like air, and cutting that off shakes them deeply. At first, the narcissist often acts unbothered. They'll put on a show of confidence, pretending your silence doesn't affect them. But behind the mask, they're unsettled. They've built their world on controlling how you respond, and when you disappear, it disrupts the script they've carefully written. It feels like losing their audience, and they hate losing. No contact takes away their favorite tool, access. Narcissists thrive on constant communication, texts, calls, arguments, even begging. It doesn't matter if the attention is positive or negative, it's still supply. When you stop responding, it's like slamming the door on their lifeline. Intimidation creeps in, because silence forces them to confront a world without control over you. Some narcissists respond by testing boundaries. They may send casual messages, accidentally like old posts, or show up unexpectedly. These are probes, designed to see if you'll crack. If you remain silent, the intimidation grows. They realize you're serious, and that realization shakes them. For someone used to pulling strings, your silence feels louder than words. They may also turn to smear campaigns. By gossiping or twisting the story, they try to regain control of the narrative. Why? Because your silence threatens their image. If they can't control you, they'll attempt to control how others see you. This desperate move reveals just how intimidated they feel by losing the spotlight in your life. Internally, narcissists often spiral. They wonder back, why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they chasing me? That lack of response creates anxiety they don't show publicly. They fear losing their grip over you because control equals validation. Without your attention, their fragile sense of self feels unstable. The intimidation doesn't always look loud. It often hides behind false confidence. Sometimes narcissists retaliate by acting indifferent. They'll post exaggerated photos, flaunt new relationships, or pretend they're happier than ever. This isn't strength, it's theater. These displays are meant for you, hoping you'll break no contact. But the more effort they put into proving they're unbothered, the clearer it becomes. Your silence intimidates them more than they admit. What really intimidates a narcissist about no contact is the loss of control. They can't predict your reactions anymore, and unpredictability terrifies them. They thrive on knowing how to push your buttons. Without access, their manipulation tools lose power. For the first time, you're the one dictating the terms, and that shift in control is deeply unsettling. Another layer of intimidation is exposure. By going no contact, you silently declare, "I see through you." Narcissists thrive in shadows where confusion and chaos keep them safe. Silence shines a light on their behavior, proving you won't play along. This awareness rattles them. They fear being unmasked, and no contact is proof their mask is cracked. They may also feel intimidated by your strength. Narcissists expect resistance, arguments, and tears when they manipulate, but silence shows resilience. It demonstrates that you value peace over drama. For them, this strength is threatening because it proves you're no longer dependent on their approval. It's a reminder that their control was never as solid as they believed. Some narcissists react by hoovering, trying to suck you back into the cycle. They might apologize, promise change, or reminisce about good times. These tactics aren't about love, they're about regaining supply. The intimidation lies in their desperation. Your silence forces them to work harder than usual, and that extra effort betrays their growing fear of losing you for good. The beauty of no contact is that it flips the script. For once, they're the ones chasing while you remain grounded. This reversal intimidates them because it strips away their usual sense of superiority. They're used to being the prize, the one in control. Now, your silence places the power firmly in your hands, and they struggle to cope with it. Sometimes narcissists try to downplay your absence. They'll say things like, "I never cared about them anyway." This defense mechanism hides their intimidation. It's easier for them to pretend you didn't matter than to admit your silence unsettled them. But their need to announce it so loudly only proves how much your no contact has shaken them. No contact also threatens their supply chain. Narcissists often juggle multiple sources of attention, but each one has a role. If you were a steady provider of validation, your silence leaves a gap they scramble to fill. They may try new relationships or intensify old ones, but the void remains. This scramble is intimidation in action. They fear being forgotten. They may also attempt to provoke jealousy, flaunting new connections or dramatic changes. They want to see if you'll react. But when you don't, it unnerves them. Your calm silence proves their tricks no longer work. That realization is intimidating because it signals growth. They can't handle the idea that you've outgrown the cycle they depend on. What makes no contact so powerful is its consistency. Narcissists thrive on drama, but silence leaves no cracks for manipulation. Each day you remain silent reinforces the message. You're no longer under their control. This steady strength intimidates them because it's unshakable. Their usual arsenal, anger, pity, guilt, falls flat against the wall of your silence. In many ways, no contact exposes their emptiness. Without someone to control, their energy feels directionless. They struggle to fill the void, bouncing from distraction to distraction. Intimidation shows up as restlessness. They can't admit it, but your silence highlights their dependence on others for validation. It's a mirror they avoid but cannot escape. Narcissists also fear what your silence communicates to others. If you've gone no contact, people around you may start asking why. This threatens the image they've built. They're intimidated not just by your absence, but by what it represents. Truth leaking into the open. They scramble to cover it with lies, revealing how rattled your silence makes them. At times, intimidation turns into obsession. They stalk social media, ask mutual friends about you, or find ways to monitor your life. This obsession is proof of their fear. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't waste energy keeping tabs. No contact intimidates them into desperation, because the silence denies them the one thing they crave most: control. Ultimately, yes, narcissists are intimidated by no contact. Not always in ways you'll see directly, but in how they scramble, perform, or lash out. Silence is a power they can't manipulate. It represents freedom, growth, and strength, things they secretly envy but can't sustain. Your no contact doesn't just unsettle them. It exposes their deepest fear: losing relevance in your life. When you cut contact, narcissists often worry that you'll share the truth about them. They fear exposure more than almost anything else. Silence makes them wonder if you're quietly gathering strength, telling your story to others, or simply living happily without them. Each possibility intimidates them because it strips away the carefully crafted image they rely on. They may try to test your silence with emotional bait. A sudden angry text, a half-hearted apology, or a random "hey" out of nowhere. It is all designed to break the wall you've built. If you don't answer, intimidation grows. They realize your silence is not temporary, but intentional. That thought terrifies them because it shows you've truly taken back control. What really unsettles them is your indifference. Narcissists feed off emotional reactions, whether love, anger, or fear. But when you stay silent, they get nothing. Indifference cuts deeper than rage. To them, being ignored feels like being erased. That erasure is intimidating because it proves they no longer have the power to stir your emotions at will. Another way intimidation shows is through their frantic search for new supply. They may jump into relationships quickly, post endlessly online, or overwork themselves to fill the void. But none of it satisfies. Your silence is a reminder of what they lost: guaranteed attention. This scramble exposes their weakness. They're not empowered. They're desperate, and it shows. No contact also forces narcissists to face themselves. Without the distraction of manipulating you, they're left with their own thoughts. That self-reflection is something they usually avoid at all costs. Intimidation grows in the quiet moments when they realize they can't escape themselves. Your silence acts as a mirror, and the reflection terrifies them. Sometimes they'll pretend to respect your decision, saying things like, "I'm glad they left. I needed space anyway." But this is just another performance. Their bravado hides the truth. They're rattled. Narcissists hate losing control, and no contact strips it completely. Their fake acceptance is a cover for deep intimidation and the fear of being powerless. They may also turn your silence into a competition. In their mind, they're determined to win by showing they care less than you. But the very fact that they frame it as a competition proves intimidation. They wouldn't need to beat you if they truly felt unaffected. Your silence exposes their obsession with control and their inability to let go. One of the most intimidating aspects of no contact is the unpredictability it brings. Narcissists don't know what you're thinking, planning, or doing. That uncertainty gnaws at them. They can no longer read your emotions or predict your responses. For people who thrive on control, this unpredictability feels threatening, making your silence more powerful than any words. Narcissists often act like they're the ones who left first. They'll tell others, "I cut them off." But if that were true, they wouldn't be so invested in what you're doing. Their need to rewrite the story reveals intimidation. They're scrambling to protect their ego, trying to control the narrative because your silence tells the real story they can't handle. Sometimes intimidation shows up as anger directed at others. They may lash out at new partners, co-workers, or even friends, projecting their frustration. Deep down, they're unsettled by your silence but can't admit it. So they displace the energy. This misdirected rage shows how much power your decision still holds, even if they pretend otherwise. Narcissists may also feel intimidated because your silence makes them irrelevant. They thrive on being the center of your world. No contact proves they're not. That loss of importance terrifies them because it highlights their replaceability. They love to believe they're unforgettable, but your calm distance proves otherwise. Nothing scares them more than being ordinary. They may even become obsessed with timing, wondering, how long can they stay silent? Will they eventually crack? Your consistency intimidates them because they expect weakness. When you maintain no contact for weeks or months, it breaks their expectations. Each day you stay quiet is another reminder of your strength and their dwindling influence. Some narcissists will try indirect methods, like contacting mutual friends or posting cryptic updates online, hoping you'll notice. These attempts are proof of intimidation. They're too shaken to confront you directly. Instead, they play in the shadows, fishing for a reaction. But when you don't bite, their frustration grows, confirming that silence has shifted the power dynamic. They may also spiral into paranoia. Are they happier without me? Are they telling people what I did? These thoughts haunt them. No contact leaves too much unanswered, and that lack of control eats away at their ego. The intimidation isn't always loud. It's quiet and restless, filling their mind with fears they can't silence. Ultimately, the intimidation comes from what no contact represents. It's not just silence. It's proof that you've broken free. It shows growth, self-respect, and strength, all things narcissists secretly envy but can't sustain. Your choice to go no contact is more powerful than any argument. It says, without words, you no longer have power here. Narcissists may also feel intimidated because no contact ends their ability to reset the cycle. Normally, after conflict, they rely on charm or apologies to pull you back in. Without that access, they lose their reset button. This leaves them powerless to start fresh, and that helplessness feels terrifying. They're not in charge anymore, and they know it. Sometimes they'll try to convince themselves that you'll come back eventually. This denial helps them cope, but it also shows intimidation. They can't fully accept that you've chosen silence because it threatens their ego. By telling themselves it's temporary, they shield against the truth. You've grown stronger, and their control over you has collapsed. Narcissists also fear what your silence symbolizes to others. If people notice your distance, they may start questioning the narcissist's behavior. This potential exposure intimidates them. They rely heavily on keeping a clean image, so the idea that others might see cracks in their mask makes them uneasy. Your silence becomes a quiet threat to their reputation. They may also become preoccupied with proving they're happier without you. Posting online, showing off, or rushing into new relationships, they try to rewrite the story. But this desperate performance is fueled by intimidation. If they truly felt free, they wouldn't need to convince anyone. The show exists only because your silence left them rattled inside. At times, intimidation drives them to test your boundaries harder. They may escalate with unexpected calls, sudden visits, or dramatic gestures. These attempts are signs of fear disguised as control. Your silence forces them into desperate measures, exposing the cracks in their confidence. Each failed attempt proves they're losing the grip they once believed was unbreakable. Narcissists are intimidated by no contact because it reminds them they were not as powerful as they thought. They've built their identity on the belief that others can't walk away. When you prove them wrong, it destabilizes their entire self-image. The fear of being powerless, of not mattering, cuts deeper than they'll ever admit out loud. They may also worry that your silence means healing. Narcissists thrive when you're vulnerable and confused. No contact signals you're investing in your peace instead of their chaos. This intimidates them because it proves growth is possible without them. The very idea that you could build a better life without their presence terrifies their fragile ego. Some narcissists respond by seeking revenge. They may try to damage your reputation, interfere with your work, or spread rumors. This isn't strength, it's intimidation manifesting as spite. They lash out because your silence exposes their lack of control. The more destructive their behavior, the clearer it is that your decision to go no contact shook them deeply. They're also intimidated by the possibility that you might never look back. Narcissists thrive on the cycle of leaving and returning. No contact threatens to break that cycle forever. The permanence of it unsettles them. They fear that once you've tasted peace, you'll never crave their drama again. And that thought strikes at the heart of their insecurity. Another layer of intimidation comes from your independence. No contact proves you don't need them for closure, validation, or even conversation. You're self-sufficient, and that independence is something they secretly envy but can't maintain. To them, dependence is power. Your ability to thrive without them leaves them rattled, because it proves their role in your life was never essential. Narcissists also hate the silence because it forces them to face reality. They can't spin the story if you're not engaging. They can't twist your words if you're not speaking. Your silence blocks their favorite tools of manipulation, leaving them powerless. This reality is intimidating because it strips them of their arsenal, showing just how fragile they really are. Some may resort to hoovering in extreme ways, dramatic apologies, sudden gifts, or emotional pleas. But these attempts aren't love, they're desperation. Your silence intimidates them into action they normally wouldn't take. Ironically, the more extreme their gestures, the clearer it is that they're shaken by your distance. Silence once again proves stronger than words. They're also intimidated by the peace you project. When you stop engaging, you radiate calmness, even if you're still healing inside. Narcissists sense this and feel threatened by it. Peace is something they can't create for themselves. Your calm presence reminds them of what they lack, making your silence not only powerful, but deeply intimidating to their chaotic world. Ultimately, narcissists are intimidated by no contact because it dismantles the illusion of control. They realize they're not invincible, not unforgettable, and not as powerful as they claimed. Your silence pulls back the curtain on their act, leaving them exposed. It's not anger or confrontation that scares them most. It's indifference. Silence is the one response they can't spin. In the end, yes, no contact intimidates a narcissist. It's your strongest tool, because it protects your energy while exposing their weakness. They may act unbothered, retaliate, or scramble for control, but every reaction reveals their fear. Your silence is strength. It shows that healing, freedom, and peace are possible, and nothing unsettles a narcissist more than realizing they've truly lost you.